Hey everybody, welcome back to Start With You. I am sitting today with someone who is a confidant, with somebody who I believe to be like literally I called you a sister a little bit ago. You basically are family at this point to me. They're well accomplished in our circuit, in the gaming circuit, in the Twitch circuit, beyond in the greater industry. I'm going to showcase so much of just how much I love you throughout this broadcast, but I'm sitting across the table from somebody I know. You're having a moment with me saying things about you. The one and only
Yep.
CypherofTyr, Tanya DePass. How are you? How are you?
Do you want the truth or do you want the polite answer?
I never want anything but the truth in conversation.
Right now I'm good because I'm talking to you, but earlier really sucked.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just go into it. What was the moment that sucked for you?
Not to start off on a sour note, but basically friends that were in town who flew out here from Seattle for a concert, balked at the cost of a lift to come visit me, and it turned into a whole thing.
Hmm.
And I got some insecurities thrown at me, and I'm like, good to know. Good to
Oh,
know.
oh my lord.
Oh,
And so this is something I mean we talk about this of like
yeah.
when people come into town and stuff like that, there's always just like, okay, are we going to do this? Are we going to make this happen? Are we going to not? But I'm just curious from your perspective, what is the definition of a good friend?
Someone that I can be myself with, and myself in that, you know, ooh, good question, because we've known each other for a while.
Mhm.
And the person I am when I talk to you is the person I am any other time. I'm not a different person when I stream, I'm not a different person on panels. But we know that there is the persona that people make of you.
Mm.
And the friend is the person where I can call you and go, I'm having a really bad day. I'm having or just I missed your voice. How are you? I'm thinking of you. And I could not talk to you for 3 weeks, but then pick up the phone, text you, and it's like we just talked the other day.
Yep.
Really good friends are the ones that are like, something went down, and they're like, cool, I'm on my way for you. Where do you need me to hide a body? And then there are the people who are like, I don't care what happens. I don't care if it's 2 in the morning. If something happens to you, if someone hurts you, if it's an emergency, you better call me.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are friends. Those are the actual those are the folks that we are willing to it's not we're not carrying them on our lives. It's more like we're allowing them to join in on this weird
Mm-hmm.
life that we live.
Yep.
And you've had a hell of a journey as a creative, as an individual. And so what I would like to do is start at the beginning or as far back as you want to go.
Okay.
Um, you've heard me speak on this on several panels and sessions and stuff like that. We've talked about like the why statements and all that, but I just am curious, where did you start on this career path? How did you get into this to begin with? Was there a love that you had found when you were younger? What was that for you?
For what I'm doing right now,
What you're doing now, or even what led you to this point of what you do now?
um, there was no great like love affair with games. There wasn't anything like that. It was actually, in terms of what I do now, it was right time, right place, lightning in a bottle moment.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, if you've heard of I Need Diverse Games, that was me. Now 8 years ago in October, mad about video games online, and threw that hashtag out. A bunch of developers, other people picked it up. It went viral. People started talking about it. Unfortunately, it aligned with the Sith of gaming, as I now start calling them, being out and about.
What are the
And
Sith of gaming? Would you call like what are
uh,
those?
well, the Gamergate bros, the incels, the
Mm,
ones that think no one except 18 to 35-year-old white dudes should be in gaming and playing games.
mm,
That play Call of Duty in the basement and think women are there only to serve them, and
mm.
that we don't actually like video games.
So literally, what George Lucas wrote about for Sith.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
same type.
Um, yeah. So it wasn't in relation to that, but a lot of people tied it to that. But it was the right time, right place to have that diversity conversation again.
Mm.
and it picked up, became its own thing, and within a couple years I was doing panels, giving talks, started my own podcast, was off my own podcast, and in 2015 I lost my day job, and I said, okay, this is my sign, because it had already become a second job.
Yeah.
So I said, give myself till unemployment runs out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be, and it wasn't like I wasn't putting in the work. But I'm like, I got 6 months of unemployment. If nothing has shifted within that 6 months and this isn't viable, I'm saving money, living frugally, but it worked out.
Yeah.
I just put it out there that, hey, lost my day job. You all said that you like I Need Diverse Games, what we do. Here's a chance to put your money where your mouth is. Because if I have to go back to a day job in 6 months, it's going to go away because I can't do 2 jobs and survive.
Yeah. So tell me more about I Need Diverse Games for those who are not aware of what the cause was, what you were really trying to highlight in that. Like what was the spawn moment of that, of just like, you know what? I am going to make this part of the conversation, because historically we know, for those who've been in the gaming scene, it hasn't actively been it. So tell me a little bit about the origin.
So that was the year that, our friends over at Ubisoft did the It's Too Hard to Animate Women thing.
Yes.
And, a lot of the games that I got to see either at E3 with that coverage or at GDC, because I went to GDC ironically with a friend who wanted to get in the industry. I had no interest in joining the industry. And, went with her, got to meet a lot of people, got to meet a lot of developers that are now my friends that March. And then come up fall of 2014, we're seeing all these games come out, and they all look like, well, you and, like Fabio and romance covers, or
well, I consider myself to look like Fabio, so I think that's a good comparison.
There you go. You were my NPC.
Oh,
were my protagonist. But these are people, that I didn't get to see anyone like me in games, or my friends. Even seeing, women as protagonists wasn't happening. And so I threw out the hashtag of, I'd like to see more people like me, more people, that are openly queer, they're disabled, etc., and put that hashtag on it. And, kept going, conversations kept going. And then fall 2015, it became my full-time gig. And, started my own hashtag, or not hashtag, started, doing more on Patreon, doing other things. And then as the entity of I Need Diverse Games grew, we started doing things with the Game Developer Conference. I started getting more gigs to do public speaking, and then diversity consulting came along. And so the idea was to give access, because as you know, access is the one thing a lot of people don't get. And money is the thing that we need.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah.
End of. We need money to do these things. And my overall goal, which we're still not there, is to be able to say, here's money, go do your thing, go make a better game, go be more present in the industry, because I was going to GDC, I was going to these events, and it was still very, very white, very, very male.
Yeah. And it feels like the panel conversations can sometimes just lead towards, oh no, this is just the black panel. This is the, LGBT representation panel. It's not the access of which you're really describing when it comes to working with the companies, sitting with the companies, and developing the game end to end, with having the vision be representative of even just multicultural perspective in most cases. I guess, what has it been like to date? Meeting with, obviously, like going to GDC, you're meeting with these publishers, they're seeing you, you're being hired as a diversity consultant. What is it like sitting at the table as a representative?
Weird, but also liberating, because I don't work for that studio.
Yeah.
So I can walk in and go, okay, before I say this, can I swear?
Yes. Yeah, you fucking say whatever the fuck you want.
Look, I'm being respectful.
I know you're being very respectful. Here's the thing. When it came to my channel, my fans actually paid for me to be able to curse, because they're like, you've spent too long being Mr. Rogers, be yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Then in that case, it's really fucking liberating, because I could walk in and go, this is bullshit, this is racist, this is really fucking racist. Who wrote this? Why do they still have a job? But then I but then the other side was I gave them solutions.
Yes.
I wasn't the gamer on Twitter yelling at them. I wasn't the person saying dead game, no one plays it, like I've seen with so many other games. I go, okay, yeah, this is really racist, but here's how you can fix it. You know, and depending on when they brought me in, it could either be, here's how we're going to fix it. You brought me in early enough to really do something, or you're going to have to fix this in post. This is going to have to be DLC. You'll have to release a patch. You know, I've worked with Ubisoft a lot, and the first game I worked with them on, they had already done mocap, they had already done VO. And it's like, I can fix this, but you're going to have to do something post-release. Because at this point, you're too close to certification and release, unless you really want to delay this game.
Yeah.
But then I've got to work with them on other titles where they brought me in on day one. I've seen, like I saw the whole script for Far Cry 6.
No kidding.
Like a year and a half before the game was out.
Wow.
I see all the art, got to work with them, and they learned because for Far Cry 6, there's a trans character, and they brought in a trans voice actor, and that voice actor then worked with them on their lines and went through and made sure that things were better. So just between the first title I worked with them on and Far Cry 6, they had a huge learning moment. And, you know, I've got to work with them on other stuff. Some things are still NDA, but they are one of the few studios, for as much as people are going to rag on Ubisoft, they are learning to bring someone in on day zero.
And by being present at the table on day zero, that's what actually can push forward. Because, like, you were just mentioning, like, Twitter well, I won't even call them Twitter conversations. The megaphoning on Twitter.
Yeah.
Which is, oh, this game sucks, or da-da-da-da. Or even people just ranting about a singular element. Doesn't really change anything, because as you said, there's no solutions being presented. There's no additional, like, actual perspective towards this is what you could do to make it better. And for the most case, I will say for most Twitter that I see. How is the reception in the room? Being frank, being honest with them of like, hey, don't fucking do that. Like, include more hairstyles, like what the work I've been seeing with like Sims and multiple other games. Just like you need to be aware of this, because oftentimes, as you said, the people sitting behind the chair, the people who are doing it, are often doing reflections of themselves in their art, or reflections of their own personal story, or the stories of which they've just been ingrained in. Majority of Hollywood, as we both discuss, is you know, one very particular storyline. How are they receptive to the criticism? It sounds like Ubisoft is in the conversation.
They are, and most studios have been. I did have an indie studio come to me. Yeah. And no kidding, it was 2 weeks before scheduled release. And it may give away what game it is. It's the game's been out for a while. Yeah. But they had a witch doctor character that taught you how to dance, and they were very clearly brown. And I was like, well, it was out of place for where it was in the game, because you meet them and they teach you to dance, but this is before you learn the music part of the game. But I basically run into a black dude teaching me to dance in a game. And there was no rhyme or reason as to why he was there at that point in the game or why he existed. And they did fix it. Because they were a small indie studio, they had that leeway. But it's like, what if you put this game out in the wild and people saw that, and now you were getting dragged for filth for being racist?
It's falling onto trope. Like, people are comfortable in entertainment to fall onto trope. And so that's just it's very interesting. That is what I've been seeing time and time again with the industry is, oh, you need representation? Okay, we're going to give you the standard stereotype. Or we're going to give this. And I hear this a lot with clients that I represented over the years when it came to black casting, gay casting, how I got cast as that early on. And even when I came out, they were just like, you're not gay enough. You know, it's correct. Okay. Correct. And so the that reaction of the okay is actually, I would like to go a little deep on that reaction of the okay with you.
Okay. Go forth.
So, the frustration, the exhaustion, we talk about this often. Every year we see the same stuff kind of cycle up, and it's like the celebration months and all what have you, and it doesn't continue past that. How do you power through frustration exhaustion, repeated conversation. Because you've been doing this for the entirety of your career, and especially being thick in this scene.
Facetiously, weed has been legal in Illinois for 2 years. Not facetiously. Sometimes I take a step back, I take on less projects, or when I finish a project, I go, okay, I need a break from this. Because sitting in meetings, and I'm sure you've had similar meetings where you go, here's A through F, these are issues, and here's your 1A, 2A, 3A solution, and this is why I'm giving you the solution, this is why it's a problem.
Yeah.
And when you present it and people don't listen, you go, that's when I just go, did you want me here to rubber stamp this and say you're basically not a racist? Or do you actually want to do better? Because so many people, especially early on, like 2016, 2017, they weren't interested in actually doing better. They wanted the rubber stamp of, this game is not racist, this game is not homophobic, this game is not ableist, and not even ableist, because a lot of people still don't give a shit about ableism in games. We still see mental health as a villain trope.
Yeah.
But to deal with it, I usually take a step back, I focus more on other things, try to be more creative. Pre-Panini, I would just go to see friends way more often. But it's just one of the things of, you can't be working 24/7, and that's no matter what we're doing, whether it's content creation, whether it's actual work, whether it's game development, since I do game dev. I just take a break, and it's like, okay, do I have enough money in the bank to take 2 weeks off? Cool, I can do that. I don't have to have a meeting, I don't have to talk to anyone, or I just inform people, shop's closed, come back in a month.
Yeah.
I need to charge, because this work is also emotionally taxing.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah. Let's go into that as well. When you're talking about the frequency of some of the events, because like oftentimes, like you'll be on a constant traveling, or you'll be constantly speaking on the same topic, and as you said, sometimes it's falling on deaf ears. Effectively, apologies for the term in there, but it's just like people aren't listening to you.
Yeah.
And getting the opportunity to recharge, are you finding that you're still thinking about the work that you want to be doing, or are you working towards other creative? Like, are you ever truly able to detach?
So here's the not funny thing.
Yeah.
I usually can detach. Like, I'll put on a fighting game or something where I just want to sit there and hit things as Ryu or Ken or whoever.
Yes.
Or I want to put in Tekken and go be king. And I'm not thinking about it. But then people will not let you have that time off. And by that I mean, I don't know if people know this, but I actually really like fighting games, grew up in arcades.
Yeah.
Played Mortal Kombat from the early days of, oh no, we need a blood code to have blood in the game.
Yep.
And, and the bullshit friendalities that they created. But I really like Tekken, grew up playing Tekken. And I think it's Tekken 7 now. I don't even know what number we're on anymore. But, the women in that game are sometimes scantily clad. They've got alt costumes. And Nina, whichever Williams sister's the blonde one that's a spy. She's wearing a skin-tight catsuit. I know this. I also, at that point in time, I just wanted to play a game and watch some boobs jiggle. I didn't care.
It's like Dead or Alive beach volleyball was mine for a while.
Right. It's like, is this probably sexist? Yes. But this game has also been out for 5 years. I just want to see some titties jiggle for a few hours while I go work out some stress.
Yeah.
And here comes someone in my chat. Oh my God, these women are just dressed like this. Why? How can you? I was like, oh my God, I just want to play a fighting game.
You're like, I'm not thinking about the objective nature. I'm not going down that path right now. I'm literally just tuning out and seeing women, hot women, do what they do.
Right. It's like, unrealistic body shape in a leather catsuit that would break your ankle if you're really fighting in heels. But you know what? I don't care right now.
It's a suspension of reality at that point.
Right, or and I don't know if you get this, but I would often get, and I still often get it. Did you see racist thing about game? And I'm usually not home.
Yeah.
I'm doing something else. It's the middle of the night for me, and I wake up to, aren't you mad about X? And I'm like, I don't even know what X is. I was asleep.
And what is how do you feel about that expectation being placed? Individuals coming to you and saying, I now need your opinion on this. And if you don't align with my opinion, oftentimes then that will spin out. Or if you're just like, you know what, I don't care. I don't care about that right now.
To be exceedingly blunt, I really fucking hate it because, one, I'm not here to be your outrage machine. Because a lot of times, when I find that happening, it's supposed white allies that want to be useful and go, look, I found racism, and I'm telling you, aren't I a good person? Aren't you going to go be mad on the internet while I sit back and I'm entertained?
But I was part of the conversation because I gave it to you, so therefore I get a point, right? I get a gold star?
Right. I'll send them some of the Pride Oreos, which are literally ally cookies.
There you go.
But they want this moment. They want to go, look at me, I showed you racist thing. And okay, now, and sometimes I've just gotten to the point of, thank you for fucking up my day. Because people don't think about how you're doing as a person. They don't know if you're home, not home, busy, but it's like, you had to go to my profile to DM me, didn't you? You can see that Cypher at PAX West or whatever. So you have to realize I'm not actually home. I'm away working, or you forgot time zones exist, and when you sent me this DM, it was 3 a.m. my time. Now this is the first thing I see when I wake up, whenever I look at Twitter, because and it's just like this need to fuel the rage machine, and they will grind everyone to a halt, and they don't care what they do to you, because if I stop being entertaining for people, stop handing out ally cookies, not that I ever did, then they will just go on to the next person who's just now learning this work, getting into this field, because a lot of us became well known because of our reactions to things, because of us speaking up. But they've mutated that into, I'm speaking about something that is wrong, that is an injustice in what I do and what I like to enjoy, into, I found this racism, aren't you mad? And it's like a formula every time. Or like someone sent me a message about it Forspoken, which we've now seen has been delayed. Apparently there are no black women writers on this, and it features a black woman as the main character. What do you want me to do? They didn't reach out to make me a diversity consultant. The game's written. We've seen the trailer. At this point in development, what is it you think I can actually do if they were even going to listen to me?
Yeah.
And the other fun part, at least for Forspoken, I know the 2 main writers.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want me to then get on Twitter and eviscerate my friends for whatever that they wrote? Because as you know, what you turn in is not always what the consumer sees at the end of the day.
No, of course. I experience that every day with any production that I'm working on and stuff like that. There's always stuff that will be either manipulated out of my control, or it'll be perceived in a way that I don't want it to be. And I guess what I'm curious to, with what you were just talking about, with these individuals who do this, that will DM when you're outside the space, and I want to talk about the broadcast here in a second, but like, what are they gaining out of it? What do you think they're gaining from doing that? Aside from like, there's the ally cookie aspect of like, look, I'm an ally, or they're parading that around. What are they actually gaining?
They're feeling useful, and they feel that's when I think they feel justified in the ally label, except here's the thing. You cannot name yourself an ally. And I will say this every time when people go, but I'm an ally, don't you appreciate my help? No, actually, I fucking don't. Leave me alone. Panda, who's in the chat, she and I were at Gen Con last year, and there was a table called Tabletop GAYMERS, and yes, I'm naming names because I don't give a shit. They're a queer tabletop organization, but they were giving out ally ribbons.
Okay.
Why are you giving out ally ribbons? This person has walked up to you at a table,
and they're proclaiming.
Right. you are allowing them to name themselves an ally. You don't know anything about them. You don't know if they murder puppies on the weekend, if they actually know any queer people. And that is one thing where I always see that, or like, I've seen them at other events where they just have ally ribbons, ally whatever. And without fail, anyone who's called themselves an ally has shown that they are absolutely not an ally. They're not even fake ally, because they want you to hold their hand. They want you to walk them through and pat them on the head and go, there, you're a good person. And I will absolutely go, no, you're not. You need to prove the work. Yeah. I don't know you. And so it aggravates me, and those people, it feels like they want their brownie points. They want people to recognize them as quote unquote good and a friend and someone can rely on. Like, when people talk about, let's say when you came out, or if I come out, or if it's an affinity month, and people go, and something happens, like someone comes in and calls you a slur, whatever, and then you talk about it maybe later on Twitter or elsewhere. People go, oh my God, that shouldn't happen. No, it shouldn't. Thank you, genius, for noting what shouldn't be happening.
That happens relatively frequently. I know you experienced that. I experienced that all during Pride Month, because I'm now proudly like showcasing they, them. I'm like showcasing this to try to correct people, because I get misgendered constantly in our space.
I know. I was around when you got misgendered constantly.
And Confetti was with me recently during VidCon. I got misgendered, and she was like, do you need me to cut a bitch? Do you need me to say something here? And I was just like, no, because there's a difference with me having to go forward and correct them, or just like making sure it's publicly seen, and then they would need to do it. They would just need to showcase through their work and through what they do. Okay, you understand. I shouldn't be on me to give them that, hey, thumbs up, good job, you done did it, kid.
Right, especially like when most conventions, I don't know about VidCon, I've never gone. Most conventions either have a space to write your pronouns, they have pronoun ribbons, badges, something.
Yeah. And there's ways to do that in Twitch chat as well.
Right.
And so, let's actually go on the topic of Twitch chat for you, because obviously you're dealing with this on social media. We talk on Discord about it every time. Like, you're just like, fuck, it's a day again, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, it's a day.
Ending in Y.
Yeah. And when we look at Twitch chat for you, you're presenting a form of entertainment, whether that's Into the Motherlands or any of the other series that you're working on. And let's say one of these types of individuals come in your chat completely off topic to insert into the space. How does that make you feel?
Most of the time, just annoyed. But some days it's blazing hot anger. Because there'll be times, again, I hate to keep pointing out Panda, because she's probably like, oh God, I've been perceived. But, Panda's one of my moderators and has seen this both in person and in the chat. And I've been in her chat as well. It makes me angry because it's like, you came into the chat, especially if it's your first time talking, or worse, you've been there for a while and then you decide to still jump in with something irrelevant. And depending on my mood, and I freely admit this, I'll go, is there a reason you're bringing this up? I try not to jump into basically get the fuck out of my chat. I try not to.
Yeah.
But there are some days where it's like, I'm painting a mini, I'm messing with dice, or I'm frustrated in this game because I'm stuck on this fight, aka Elden Ring, and someone comes in with some irrelevant bullshit, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? And we talk about, we call it centering. They center themselves, where they grasp onto the tiniest bit of thing that they can get away with and then don't let go. And find a way to turn the conversation to center on them so that they suddenly are the main person you see in chat. And they're bringing up irrelevant things, or they're the people that toe the line just enough to go, well, you didn't say I couldn't do it.
Oh, I've dealt with that over the years, and that's what I was curious to, like, as we're talking about this. I haven't used the term centering, but that's exactly what is occurring. it's similar to a heckler when they go into a comedy club.
Mhm.
They say the joke because they want to be the comedian on stage. They want the attention. They want to pull it to themselves.
Yep.
So they're centering themselves. So I guess what can be done in public, quote, conversation spaces to ensure that centering doesn't occur away from the space of what we're doing? So, like, if it was a comedian on stage, I just saw Steve Martin and Martin Short in Vegas. If someone stood up and tried to make the set about them, obviously it pisses off the audience. It breaks the show flow. So, people at the start of shows will say, silence your cell phones. Like, they know the typical behavior of walking into a theater. But for some reason in online spaces, that concept doesn't exist. Or there has to be a way to fix that over time.
I handle it in various ways. Sometimes I will just ignore it. If there's some rando that's wandered into the chat and they come in and they're not being disruptive, but they're just talking a lot. Until if I look over and like, oh, chat is full of just this person because now everyone's gone kind of quiet.
Yep.
I'll go, hey, you're new to the chat. I'm not sure where you got lost in the conversation, but we're doing X. If you want to talk about X, great. If you don't want to talk about X, there's thousands of other streams you can go to.
Yeah.
No one is keeping you here. Like in that kind of southern sarcastic way, even though I'm not a bit southern.
But exactly. It's just like there's another bar you could go to.
Right, like you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah.
But if it's disruptive, like I'm trying to think of a good example because most days that I stream, there's one of these examples.
Well,
good example is
go for it.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I was gonna say they're either trauma dumping. Hey, this event occurred.
Oh boy.
Like
dumping.
I got the number of DMs I got about Abe-san and his assassination was numerous over the past few days. So they'll come in with that, or they'll trauma dump with their personal trauma.
Oh boy. Yeah. So trauma dumping is its own special hell. And when you were talking to Unigeek, I was thinking about it, especially since Unigeek is a mental health professional. For those who don't know, I'm on the board of Take This, which is the only 501c3 that is aimed at helping gamers. And, our friend Dr. B, Rafael Bocamatzo, is clinical director there. And I'm also a Take This ambassador. And what that means is I've got resources kind of at the ready and an ongoing command, but also if a mod needs to pull it up, it's just Take This. And it sucks because the onus is on the creator. Learn to kind of suss out, is this person just seeking attention? Are they really in crisis? Or is this something they're doing and this is a bored kid? Because I feel too many people immediately jump to bored kid. And as someone who has dealt with people in crisis, either intentionally, unintentionally, or is forced upon me to deal with someone in crisis, you can never make that assumption. You can never assume that it's just some bored 15-year-old on summer break. Because what if it's not?
Yeah. And
can you live with that? So a lot of it is just kind of letting them talk just enough to see how they act. If they come in with the usual, hi, I'm new, and there's patterns. Like, because here's the thing, and this is going to sound terrible. The people that come in on ops and want to do the same disruptive bullshit, they've got a pattern. They use the same words. It's like you trace back to 4 and 8chan. It's literally an op, and there is a playbook to do this by.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, because it's always, when you go back and look, like, here's the same keywords. Here's the same, hi, I'm new, or I'm having a terrible day, and they're always their first time in chat. Or they come in and they want to come out in the chat. And it's not June. It's not a moment where we're talking about being queer or what have you. It's always a very long trauma dump for someone that doesn't know anything about you, about your community. They come in, or they come in and go, can I talk about something? And you're like, maybe, why?
Yeah.
So you're like, you get set up for the okie doke real quick, and when it happens enough, you go, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
Because when someone is on, and I can't even generalize, when someone's in crisis, there's kind of ways in which they act and ways in which they respond. Because we did actually have someone, and this is pre-knowing you, I think, even. Because I've been streaming for 8 years at this point, and it's weird to say that. We had someone who was in the Discord and talked about being suicidal. And we tried to help her. And it was like, okay, this is what you literally just put this where everyone can read it without knowing their trauma, their ability to cope with this, their history with it.
No warning. Yeah, no warning, pleasant.
No warning, just put this, and this is why I no longer have a venting channel in my Discord.
Yeah.
And then we tried to help, and like I got someone from Take This to reach out to her. It turned into, you're trying to control me, you want to lock me up. It's like, no, we're concerned for your safety because you gave us no choice in how you came in and basically vomited on the rug. What did you... And if no one did anything, then it would turn into...
No one cares, no one's here for me. Yeah. 20
tweets of, I thought people cared about me in this community, and it's like, you can't do that. Or if it just been, hey, I'm having a hard time, is there anyone I can talk to? When someone comes in and says that kind of thing, or in your Discord or in stream, then it's like, okay, if someone is a member of your community, that's one thing. But when you get the rando who just shows up and you're like, okay, where's this really going?
So that was actually a question from Miradel in the chat just now. Like, it's difficult to gauge, especially, I mean, granted, we're both, I'll use the term veterans in this space. You've been broadcasting 8 years. I'm 16 years deep at this point. And we've developed that ability to kind of spot when a person is playing us, or the behaviors of which, or they're trying to, I actually equated it recently to like how people can train like their pet at home. They would train me to respond in certain ways, or they started to learn that. And over time, I learned that behavior. But for a lot of newer broadcasters or people in, let's just say, social spheres in general, which is majority of youth at this point, it is can be tough to gauge when a person's coming in, if they're actually, okay just messaging around, or if they actually do need resources. And what are those tells that you notice?
There's a lot of like wanting to dominate the conversation, or if you do offer resources, shying away from it. And it's like, but I thought you needed help. Because, like if someone does ever come in with I need help, I'm in crisis, which knock on wood doesn't happen very often, but I'll have someone hit the take this command and go, do you have is there someone you can call? Are you alone? And not in a, give me your address, I'm going to call the police, but in a, you have now come into this stranger's room for all intents and purposes and said, help me. We're trying to give you the help. So either you just really were lonely and needed attention, you don't know what to do with help because no one has ever fucking helped you, or the third choice, which we all hate, but is sometimes the obvious choice of, no, you just wanted to come in and ruin a stranger's day.
You just wanted to take them off their path and what they were doing. Yeah.
Right. And it's hard because, again, sometimes those people come into your chat, they do what they came to accomplish, and they want a reaction, they want to get their clip for Twitch fails, and then they go about their day. But when that has happened and someone seems to have really had a need, and we just kind of go, hey, here's your options, they've on occasion stuck around or come back and said, hey, thanks for actually listening, that was what I needed. Because sometimes people just are lonely and they have no one to talk to.
Yeah.
And, for good or ill, they found a Twitch chat where someone's doing chatting, and they just really needed a friendly ear. They didn't know if they'd get it. And as soon as we didn't tell them fuck off and ban them immediately.
Yeah. Then it's not solving.
Often the reaction.
Yeah. When you think about, I guess, the greater social sphere in general, like we've had our conversations obviously about the Bird app in the past. But do you think there is a good space for actual conversation currently on the internet? I mean, when we curate our communities, like I'd say a Discord perhaps is like when you've curated Discord and it's like actually the people who believe in what you believe in, and you have shared likes and interests, and you can actually, if you're talking about like Tekken, they're celebrating the, hot waifu along with you. But
Mm-hmm.
is there a space outside of just the personally curated spaces like a Discord that currently exist online?
I'm gonna be the cynical person and say no because the situation I talked about at the top of the show, so for those who don't know, I have a private locked Twitter.
Hmm.
And it is currently my venting space, but even that was enough people can see it where if I use it as a venting space, then it's like you're not okay.
Hmm.
And so even in a confine of a lockdown Twitter or RIP LiveJournal, which I still miss.
Yeah.
I would say LiveJournal communities would be a thing if they still were around,
Mm-hmm.
because you could curate a LiveJournal community to the ground.
Yeah.
Maybe Twitter communities, because I don't have access to start one, but I think you can kind of curate that space as well.
You can make it private, yeah.
But with anything that's out there, if someone can get access to it, they can use it against you. So I honestly don't think outside of your own curated spaces that there is a space. And even in your own curated spaces, and I don't know how often you've dealt with this, but on occasion you still have to kick out the people that you've very carefully invited to the front door.
Yeah. It's and that's a tough conversation to navigate when it comes to, I've had supporters of my broadcasts who supported me for a very long time. Every broadcast they'd be present, they'd be a subscriber. That I would have to remove because it became relatively unsafe for the other individuals in the chat room or in my private spaces that I've curated over the years.
Yep.
And it's a difficult thing as a broadcaster to have to navigate. And I'm very curious for you. Obviously, I know you launched a new Discord not too long ago. At what point do you draw the line with individuals like that? Obviously, like we were just talking about, like with chat room, as soon as they center themselves for the wrong reasons, that's a moment to make the decision. But is there like obviously the obvious ones of just like, if you're, a racist asshat, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But like,
it's this is gonna sound bad because it sounds like I don't care about people, but it's the person who's the Eeyore in the room. And if you do have a vending channel, you wake up and they're the first one in there, the last one out, like a bar.
Yep.
Like a drunk at the bar, they're always there. And then you have to wonder, is there anything good in your life? Is there one crumb of happiness? Or is your happiness dragging everyone down with you? Because, again, this is why... So I actually made 2 Discords.
Yeah.
One is for people who are Twitch subscribers, Patreon, Coffee. They have a space. It's more... It's not like anybody can join it, but you can join it and you're not getting kicked out if your sub drops or whatever. Then there is the even more curated. I know you. We've hung out. I've gotten to know you. I consider you someone who could have my email address, maybe have my phone number.
Yeah.
In rare occasions, maybe add me on Facebook if I've known you long enough. So I've actually got 2 spaces where my Twitch team is in the other Discord of the Twitch supporters and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's still even that delineation of, you're a supporter and I appreciate you and I'm in here, we interact, that's great. But then there is the personal, if I'm having a bad day, I've got what I call a feels channel. It's not venting, but it's towing the line of, I'm having kind of a crappy day, but it's not venting, it's not me screaming into the void.
Yeah.
But those people, and an example is someone, and because here's the thing, when you get that person, and if you tolerate it in your community, they cross-pollinate to other communities.
Yes.
And then they're like weeds. You can't, even if you pull the weed out in your community, they're elsewhere and you still have to see them, and I hate it. Because again, Panda and I have quite a few people where it's like, oh, you're like a weed, and no one wants to spray weed killer on you in these other communities, but you're gone out of mine. I don't care what you say. It becomes a, hey, I noticed that you're always posting and venting, and I just treat it like, a self-promo channel of, there is a whole Discord. There are people posting animal photos of saying good morning or good afternoon or whatever. You never talk about these things. You never come in and greet people. You're always in the woe is me. There's literally the rain cloud following me. And at a certain point, they always do something where it's like, basically, woe is me. I'm in here every day. No one seems to care, because that's literally all you fucking talk about. You tripped, going to the bathroom and didn't turn on the light, and now it's an epic saga that hits the character limit in Discord. And it's just like, okay, so you tripped. Did you die? Did you not get to the bathroom? Like, is there some like, I almost said Pangean. Is there some, like, epic tale that we're not getting here?
Yeah.
Or it's always like, their computer died, and then the next week their car dies. Then they're getting kicked out, and it's just like.
Well, I think what you mentioned at the start kind of relates back to this, which is, we all have our shit. We all have shit. We all deal with just layers of junk, regardless of how you represent your background. We all have shit. Is bringing that into a space that isn't meant for that the right path? And I was talking about that with like Unigage. Like, that's why, obviously therapy is a great resource. That's why there are crisis helplines and stuff like that, because you don't know that by you bringing in, let's say you tripping, let's say, like I come into your Discord and I'm like, oh, I tripped today and I hurt my leg, and you don't know, did other people in the chat have that? Maybe that's how their father died. He tripped and fell and hit his head. Then that causes a whole nother layer of trauma for another individual. It's like, it's this very curious aspect that I continue to see in online communities that I don't see as beneficial, unfortunately, to any party.
So there was someone, and they were a big part of the reason why I killed my old Discord. They were always trauma dumping. Everything was like the end of the world, and it went from minor inconvenience to, there's a nuke about to go off in my life for the 5th time this week, and it's only Tuesday. And it was emotionally draining. And then, of course, if anybody tried to comfort them or offer any help, well, you don't know me. And it's like, wow, okay, so. And why did you come and tell us?
And as a broadcaster, how being able to switch that off and go live and do a show after being exposed either on Twitter, like you were talking about earlier, or going into your Discord community and seeing that and having to come on and do a show and perform, that is a lot of weight that I think we have to, it's a burden that I don't think should be present, or there can be ways to try to get around that. But it's an unfortunate aspect that I don't think the viewer who's doing that is thinking about. Is like, what am I saying? There's the concept of, effectively, like when you go to Japan, there's like the concept of not being a bother to somebody. If I go on the train, I'm not going to be talking on my phone. I'm not going to be doing this, because that would be a bother to their existence. Is there a way to bridge that mentality, or do you think that's just something they have to personally achieve in their own journey, so they can have the empathy and understanding for, oh, I shouldn't say that to the host right now because they're literally having the best time in that game, or they are playing a narrative right now, playing a character. I probably shouldn't bring it in.
That will require other people to recognize it's not all about them, that they are not the guest star or the star in this moment. In fact, they're not even a bit player. Because,
but that's against American principles. It's all about my freedoms, my rights, myself.
Well, I mean, we had this conversation around July 4th.
Yeah.
There's a reason Juneteenth is its own holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Are the people that let's say like you've been playing a lot of Fortnite.
Yeah.
And someone comes in and they love Fortnite, whatever, and they're just so excited. Their favorite broadcaster's playing, and they will not quit pestering you to join, even though you've made it clear. No, this is a community night. You're new here, or I don't add randos, things like that. It's that same kind of thing, or like to kind of circle back to trauma dumping. When a celebrity dies, someone of note dies, or tragedy happens. A lot of people I know are streaming when Uvalde happened, whenever celebrity deaths come in threes within a couple days of each other.
Yep. And
it's that, well, I'm going to come out of lurk and drop this thing and not think about it at all. Because I've said this before, and I say it often, is at a certain point, people don't think, unless someone takes time to know you, they don't think of us as people. And we're a persona, we're entertainment cogs, we're not even machines, we're a cog. And it's this idea that you're supposed to sit there and make me laugh, John. You're not supposed to talk about real shit. I should never hear anything about you other than, look, we're having a great time in Fortnite, tee-hee. Or, me as a cis femme individual, not be mad about Roe v. Wade, or yet another black person has been shot by the cops, and not just shot but murdered. And it's this idea, because I don't know if you have ever seen Sir Caitlin. She was talking about this, where she got the I follow you for whatever content she was doing at the time.
Yeah,
you need to stop being political.
I see that shit all the time on Twitter. I see it happen to a lot of our colleagues, a lot of our peers in the space. It's even why I separated my persona on Twitter, KawaiiGuy Live and Jon Brence. It's like, okay, if you want to hear me bitch about all of the shit that's happening in the world, that's me personally. If you just want my Twitch clips, great. You can see me joking and laughing and doing stupid shit over on KawaiiGuy Live, because people would say that to me. And so it's once again creating that space, but it's so disappointing that, to your point, individuals or viewers may come into our broadcast and not view us as people. I often say, and you've heard me say it multiple times, like, I never look at my viewer number, because you're all people. You're not a number to me. You're a person with a perspective and a background and a history, and I hope that you will view me the same way.
Yeah. And it's something I've talked about, and we can get into parasocial stuff too if you want, if you have time.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten a second win because caffeine, yay.
Hell yeah.
But especially with the state of the world that it is right now, with everything happening, but also the 3 years of pandemic we've been living under, and the other very clear part of, I'm not a white dude. The world outside, and the world even that comes into my office, my living room, has made my mere existence political. I get no fucking choice in it. I don't get to pick and choose, am I black today, am I queer today, am I cis, am I all the above? Do I get to be, do I go to the shelf and pick anxiety today, or do I get to go out and be black? Which is it? And for me, I refuse to separate my content creation, because one, I'm lazy and I've already got too many Twitter accounts to keep up with.
You're like, I have too much shit going on. I'm not going to separate any further.
Well, but I should not have to.
Correct.
If you come to my stream, if you see me at a convention or whatever it is, you see me give a talk, you're getting Tanya. You're getting me in that moment. But when I turn on my stream, if I'm mini painting, dice, we're doing RPGs, what have you, I'm still that person, and I bring what I can into the character, into the moment, into the discussion, because I will sit there and talk about politics while I'm painting a half-naked mini. I don't care. But if you want to come here and just talk minis, if you just want to talk, D&D, and also half the people that talk D&D fucking hate D&D, I don't know why you're here.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit there and tell me basically shut up and dribble, like people want to tell LeBron James and other folks. It's like, I'm a whole person that has to live in this world, and until my last day, everything that you want to brand as politics still affects me. When I get on a plane If I'm flying first class and I get someone who acts like I shouldn't be there, that's not political. That's my life. In that moment, I got to decide: do I really want to take this flight?
Yeah.
Do I want to fight this person on the plane?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, if I want to talk about abortion, and I have every right to do so, unless like somebody says you can't talk about this as a TOS violation, I might just say fuck it anyway and talk about
Well,
it.
there's differences. Like there's certain things like with certain services, obviously, that can lead to service issues because most services aren't free speech platforms, unfortunately, or what have you. But there's a difference between violation of a service, and I think it's a completely different category, versus I'm just having a conversation because I believe these things, and you just don't want me to have it because you don't see me as a person. You don't see me as a person that should have an opinion or a thought or a belief system.
Right. I get to have an opinion, but on what you want to hear. You want to hear me rag on whatever AAA game came out because you don't like it. That's what you want. You want to hear me. You want to sit there and argue with me. Well, I don't like Skull and Bones because I don't like Ubisoft. Cool. Get the fuck out of my chat. Why are you here?
Yeah.
You know, had someone follow me yesterday after I was super excited because Brown Pirates, yes, please. Give me more. And then someone follows me, and their very first tweet that I see is how shitty Ubisoft and this game looks and why no one should buy it. Why did you follow me? I'm not going to entertain you by arguing with you to validate why I like something. And people do that all the time in Twitch streams.
Let's talk about some of these social relationships that form. There's obviously the ones that are, the friendships, the colleagues and peers that we work with, and that's one aspect of the friendship. There's relationships we form with our moderators, our VIPs, the people who support us on a regular basis through subscriptions. There's other relationships that form that are tough to navigate as a broadcaster. And I haven't heard many, honestly, conversations in the space about it, where they're forming completely different perspectives as to who they believe us to be and how we should act. Talk to me a little bit about parasocial relationships as you've experienced.
The way I've experienced it, and I have to find a clip to send you, is people feel like they are closer than they really are to you.
Yeah.
Which is, and for me, that's kind of like why when you named me family and called me sister, I got choked up.
Yeah.
Because we're friends, we're close, but having that validation, hearing it from someone you respect so much. And there's that difference though. We talk on the phone, we text, whatever. We have outside of the work we do for Twitch related things.
It's beyond.
We have gotten to know each other as people.
Yeah.
And, you're someone I can text or message. You are on that small list of people that know me as a whole person.
Yeah.
That if something's not right and you message, I don't have that doubt of what is it that you actually want from me. And
that's why broadcasters have up walls, just for the audience's perspective. That's why a lot of broadcasters are very protective, is because of what you're talking about.
Well, and just literal safety. DJ Knight, he is very careful to talk about like where he actually lives. He never uses his legal name.
Yeah.
He's very careful about like his family even being heard off chance on stream. And But the parasocial part is, I give you $5 a month, therefore you're my best friend. Absolutely the fuck not. No. Or it's like, oh, you got to be partner? Give me your home address so I can send you a thing. No. This is why services like Throne and Stream Gifts and other services
mailbox services exist. Yeah.
Right. But it's this idea that I can virtually come to your house however many times I come to your stream or whatever it is you're doing. Or you play a character I'm really, really into in the terms of like RPG content. And it sounds weird, but there's no good way for me to say it other than they imprint on who they think you are. Yes.
That's a good way of saying it. And I know Kyle's in our chat as well. Kyle's a actor and tabletop creator within our circuit. And I'm sure you experienced this as well, Kyle, is that people will see a particular performance of us. And that is the expectation moving forward. And this is why when I talk about broadcasters having to shift categories, like if people only discover me and like me for Fortnite and I want to play what I care about, which is like Persona, they're gonna be like, well, that ain't you. I'm like, but that is me. That's literally more me than, casually hang out, but it's just like it's so as a creator, it hurts, and I will speak from personal perspective. It hurts me to know that I'm disappointing someone because I carry that. It hurts to know that I have made something that perhaps that's not the version of me they want to hear. Like the speeches like that you've heard me give, and I gave at Samsung, for example.
Mm-hmm.
People will call it Work Jon versus KawaiiGuy or Jon on Twitch. And they purposely will separate me into two. And that's once again why I did the further separation on Twitter, etc. Because there's a certain version of me. But when it's the whole self, and it's still you, it is so fucking hard to navigate every single day.
Oh yeah.
And it can lead to uncomfortable relationships. I know Kyle just highlighted it can lead to stalkers, bad reactions in person. As someone who's dealt with both, it sucks. You too.
Same.
And constant harassment from those individuals.
Because it made me think about it, and you're probably going to yell at me later or on stream. I don't know.
Okay.
But because switching to talking about kind of the RPG content. So I'm on 2 D&D shows, and and then there's Into the Motherlands, and we've got a much larger fan base for Black Dice Society, for instance, the Thursday show I'm on. And there are people that are very deeply invested in our show and these characters to the point that frightens me a little bit. And I was Googling something. I was Googling Black Dice because I actually set up a Google alert. Please do this if you're worried about your safety. Or if you want to know if someone mentions you in an article, set up a Google alert for your name or your stage name. And Black Dice Society came up, and the comments led to a Reddit thread. And I discovered 2 things. One, there's somebody on Reddit that literally does a breakdown of every single episode, like hours after we've gone off air.
Wow.
And I have never been that into anything, even that I'm on. Someone also made a Black Dice Society Reddit. As far as I know, none of us okayed this because B-Dave got driven off Reddit. He does not go on Reddit. I don't normally go on Reddit. I have my name so nobody could squat it.
Yeah.
But I absolutely am like, that is Dante's undiscovered level of hell. But that way in which there are people that are just very, and I can say this just about how I play my character, there are people that have essays about our characters and what we mean and what we actually were thinking, and
so they're building on it, sort of like a fanfic application of just like, this is what this character was doing on top of what you performed as.
Right. And and I don't understand, so maybe whenever I get to see Kyle again in person, or when I get to see you, people are very pressed about our alignment and our motivations and why we do the things we do in character, except sometimes the dice dictate what we do in that moment. No, I can guarantee you there are very few people, especially on an RPG show with other people, can sit there and plot out what their character's going to do 50 episodes out.
No, you don't. That's like the Dungeon Master can lead you on a journey, or at least that's the host's like job, is to guide sort of like the narrative, but effectively keep it on the rail, but it can be multiple rails of which it can go down. And for the player, to your point, it is dictated by chance, by dice. Same thing with playing a video game. It's all up to the dice roll. And sometimes, I would love to be the person who gets number 1s in Fortnite every single match. Or if I'm playing D&D, I would love nat 20 so I can do a double flip through a window, slide under, and get the, boss out of the way that we were handling in the moment. But that's not how it functions. And so sometimes there has to be a permission granted by the audience to allow the actor, the performer, the host to do what they do. And not say, sorry, you're wrong. You didn't do the art the way I wanted you to. We see this in the Star Wars community. We saw it happen with, unfortunately, people targeting members of Critical Role with their performances in video games in the past. Just God. They're just like, well, you didn't do the art the way I wanted you to do the art. Well, the art wasn't yours. The art wasn't yours. And it never will be yours, regardless of how much of a fan you are of it. And so, once again, it stems to trust the storytellers, trust the host, trust the people who you're giving your viewership to let you take on a journey that they think is worthwhile of your time. And if you don't find it worthwhile of your time, as you said as well, you can go find another show. There are other things to watch. We are inundated with content across the internet. You don't have to get hell-bent on do it my way or don't do it at all.
Yeah, I mean, even thinking about Motherlands, not our session 0, but our very first episode. And for those who don't know, Motherlands is an IP we are building from the ground up. It's not D&D, it's not Pathfinder. We are making this game from the ground up. Coming up with the location, the characters, the lore. Someone in chat during our very first episode told me I was playing my character wrong because hyenas are matriarchal. And I was like, hey, this isn't the fucking Nature Channel. We're not on Earth. And I'm not actually a hyena in this character. This is how far the entitlement can go. Or it's the, well, you're not doing this, or how dare you base something on Mansa Musa. I'm like, clearly you didn't read all the way through, because it's not, no one is Mansa Musa, but you saw that name, you got fixated. So, you know, the parasocial part is, are people even like, or if they can't sub, they kind of go over the top. They go, oh my god, I can't sub, I'm so sorry, I really want to be part of the community. I'm like, are you here every day?
Then you're a part.
Are you enjoying? Are you not being a weirdo and making anyone uncomfortable? You're good. You don't have to. And I think we tie the, well, not we as in creators, but a lot of community members, and I'm doing that intentionally, feel like I'm not really a community member unless I can support the streamer, buy them gifts, or in the case of like, we're making derivative content, or like in the case of like Motherlands, if I couldn't back the Kickstarter, if I can't buy the book once it's out, then am I really a fan? Yes. Be there every week when we do the show. Did you watch all 3 seasons? Have you, even if you couldn't back it, did you share the Kickstarter? Are you being a decent person and going, I'm excited when I can get my hands on the book? Then that makes you part of the community, as far as I'm concerned, because we need to stop tying importance and status and being part of the community to how much you can open your wallet.
That there's obviously celebrations that can be had with like supporters in the community, those who can back. We all come from different financial backgrounds or current financial statuses. There are some that can give more than others. It doesn't make them better in any way, shape, or form, because once again, we're just people. Paper doesn't make us the person. Because what you choose to do with the paper is up to you. So, like, you can't apply those same mechanics. So, yeah, I agree, especially when it comes to people coming in the broadcast saying these things, the unfortunate expectations that get placed on us when it comes to what they want our narratives to be. For yourself, have you found that expectations being placed on you, for example, with I Need Diverse Games, with the work that you've done working with companies, do you feel that expectations placed upon you have changed the path of which you wanted to be on?
I'd love to say no, but the reality is likely yes, especially early on as I was still figuring out what I was doing. Because a lot of what I've done has been happenstance, lightning in a bottle, and then a lot of work to keep it afloat. I hate saying luck because I feel like luck reduces the amount of work it takes to get anywhere. But early on, I'm sure it did. Now I'm very much, you came to me, I didn't come to you, you wanted my help. Do you want to fix your project or not? But I'm also in a societal, influential enough position to do that.
Yeah.
Even 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have never dreamed of saying that to someone.
Yeah.
I probably would have bent over backwards to do what was needed to get the job done. I would have been nicer about it than I am now. But it's like, then you came to me. I have 5 other projects I can go do. But again, I'm in a very privileged position right now, 8 years later.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said that when I was starting out. And that's the thing, is that, and we've talked about this, where people have starting out, a lot of people have a fuck you pay me mentality, but they don't have the fuck you pay me resume.
There is that for sure. I think the balancing of, cost, time, investment, like all of that. There's a great colleague. I wish he was in the chat right now. I'm sure he'll be listening during the podcast. Ian Tingen, who's written about the different forms of currency of which you can expend and what you can expect in return. Coming in with a "fuck you, pay me" or a "I exist, therefore I deserve pay" is another thing that I experience a lot with young broadcasters, young creatives, young people in the space. There is an aspect of, yes, you should be paid for your work, but what work level are you currently at, and what are you contributing to the space? And what have you done to back up what you're asking for?
Right, are you reliable?
That.
And not Whisper Network, but let's say if someone came to me and said, I really want to bring Jon on a project, which is a bad example because I know it's you. But let's say you came to me and said, oh, well, Motherlands, we want to do something, and this is hypothetical, this is not happening. Do not say this is happening because people hear a thing and they run with it.
It's not happening, internet. This is hypothetical.
Where it's like, oh, hey, let's do something at TwitchCon with Motherlands, but these are the people I want you to do, and I don't know any of these fucking people.
Oh, you want me to, like, replace the cast just because I said so?
Or not replace the class, but let's say not everybody's comfortable with traveling.
Oh, yeah.
We need 2 people, and you bring 2 unknown-ass people that I don't know, and I'm supposed to just say so, but then when I go look them up, I'm like, well...
Do they have the skills?
Do they have the skills? Have they performed? Have they performed live? Because let me tell you, doing a RPG live is a whole other thing on a stage.
Yep.
Versus sitting here in front of a camera. Do they even like RPGs, or is it these are people that are hot and new right now, therefore you want to put them in front of a camera and get eyes on it? That kind of thing.
That's an issue with the greater industry at all. There's who was talking about this yesterday? There's an obsession with fame that Americans in general have, I would say. It's expanded to other, countries over time. But there's this obsession that fame is all you need. Not talent, not drive, just fame, reach. And that's a danger to the greater creative ecosystem, because we've seen what happens when you place somebody on stage who doesn't have talent. Things will fall flat. I saw a theatrical production this past week. It was a touring production. I know that one of the leads got the role for their singing chops, but their acting chops were absolutely fucking horrid. So were they the proper cast? Because I know other people could sing that part. And so that's a balance aspect of, do they have the talent? Do they have the ability? That therefore it warrants the role. There's also the difficulty in the creative space that I think that people don't want to acknowledge, is that there sometimes is only one lead role.
Yep.
Not every person is going to get it. Not every person is going to get the stage. Just because you create doesn't mean you'll be successful. I learned that the hard way. My career peaked in 2009. I was my coolest then. And ever since, it's been a journey. Ever since. But I know my worth at each stage of my journey and what I can bring. And so it's a tough thing in our space for sure. But ensuring that we aren't, what's the best way of saying it? Ensuring that we are not discounting ourselves and our abilities based on either an expectation placed by our audience or what the industry expects of us is key. So, like, not discounting our perspectives. Like, you've earned the right to say in the room, this is bullshit. You need to fix this in your game. Or, you get an invite to an event. You have earned that invite to the event through the relationships of which you have formed through the work that you have done. It's not something that's given out. You have to work.
Right.
And over time, we hope that the industry, which historically had been only white men, old, geeky, you name it, has learned, begin hiring diverse perspectives, bring diverse perspectives to the table, so that way we actually have a property that can reach further than one particular mass. And that's the work of which I think overall we should be focused towards. How do we actually showcase properties?
So it's going to be a little weird to say this, considering, it's the weekend and it's your show, but also what you do and what we've collaborated on together.
Yeah.
it's getting the people who can make the programming decisions see more than like the angry white dude who throws and breaks a controller while playing COD or Fortnite or whatever.
Yeah.
Is showcasing people that may not have hundreds of CCP or thousands of CCP, because those people, they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
At least for right now, they probably have people that sit there and wait for them to go live, what have you, that hang on their every word. Look at the people that have great content but just don't have the eyes on them, whether it be discoverability's bullshit, they stream in an odd time, but they're doing something really dope that no one's seen, but no one knows.
Yeah.
And you know, getting and people, and this is where it comes back to the creators, learn how to market yourself, because surprise, you have to market yourself. This is what we do.
Yeah.
It's not just make a Twitter, make a Discord. I've got a community. You don't. Learn the balance of, especially if you don't want to make 2 accounts, balance showing who you are as a person, sharing something of yourself. So I know you're a real live human and not a bot. And oh, dope, you make mechanical keyboards, you paint minis, you too like the D&Ds, and I will be interested in coming by to check out your content, versus every tweet I see is, oh, I only had 2 viewers, is bullshit. Then you know what? You gonna stay with 2 viewers. Because I saw your post about take small streamer out of your vocabulary. Because I hate it, especially since sounds weird to say, but I came up streaming.
Yeah.
When a lot of people are using the follow for follow and support small streamers, as if you, by nature being a small streamer, whatever the fuck that means, are more deserving of support just by dint of existing.
Yeah.
And I exist. You know, I'm a partner. I don't have hundreds of people showing up when I stream.
Yeah.
I don't have, you know, depending on what I'm doing, I may hit triple digits. If I'm up at demon hours and my Europeans are up and free, I get good numbers.
Yeah.
If I were to stream this time of night right now on a Friday, my audience is asleep. They're streaming. They're doing other things, and it's summer.
Yeah.
They are outside because people have forgotten we're in a pandemic.
You're highlighting a respect for audience, which is something that I don't think many. Well, one, let's just talk about the follow for follow thing. That will never work. It never has worked. Like, it doesn't. It's just it's a circle. It's a pyramid. It doesn't work. When it comes to respect of the broadcast, like what you were highlighting, when it comes to when is your audience available, what are they up to, understanding they're human. It's once again, the small streamer concept is, it's still, if you have one person in your broadcast, that is one person dedicated to you. That's me on a date. That is the best fucking experience. That is us eating sushi together, Cypher. That is us having a proper conversation, like what we're doing right now. This is an incredible conversation. That's how they should view it, versus, oh, one number.
Right, but, you know, people have been trained to think about quantity over quality, because, you know, there's sometimes where it's like, I'll do mini painting, and when I go to end the broadcast, because I'm not sitting here, I'm actually across the room.
Yeah.
Because my mini painting's over there, and I don't see the numbers because I'm watching chat on my phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's dope. That many people showed up to hear me ramble while I work on a mini. But then, you know, I try not to think about it if I then turn around and play a hot new game, whatever that could be.
Yeah.
And I get half of that, and I'm like, then you can spiral and go down a rabbit hole real quick of, y'all really would sit here and rather watch me paint something and hear me talk about whatever inane thing pops in my head and watch me play, you know, whatever new game is out. I don't even know what's out right now.
Yeah, same.
So it's also, and this is where content creators, and it's funny because I thought of this way after submissions closed for San Diego, of everything is not content.
Yes.
Leave something for you.
Yes. Say that one more time for the audience, just so they really ingrain this in their heads.
Everything is not content. You know, shout out to Between Two Gays. We got on Discord, ran around in Monster Hunter for a few hours, and it was just like, oh my god, I get to just hang out with my friends. No one's backseating me, telling me I'm hunting monsters wrong. We're just sitting here chilling, vibing, and running around in this beautiful game.
Yeah.
And And that's something where I think people also lose track of it, is like they get so stuck on the numbers, they get so stuck on making it, whatever making it means, because a lot of people think the partner check mark is making it. Surprise, the partner check mark has not made me rich nor famous. All the other things I do have put money in the bank and made me internet famous, as much as I hate it.
There's a reason why most celebrities don't actively use social media. I wonder
Mhm.
why.
Yeah,
I wonder
I
why.
know. Yes, and I know that there was a question somewhere. I
There's a
hope it
great
hasn't
question,
scrolled
from
away.
Melosaurs, actually. So here's a question. I feel like it's not about the money, but about intentions. How do y'all deal with those who want to ride your coattails to get ahead in their streaming careers? So, like, you've earned your keep. You've got the seat at the table. Now a person rolls up to you and says, okay, pull me in with you.
I'm like, ooh. So there's when it's glaringly obvious, when this person, let's say, like when the short film came out, when the documentary came out, and people that have never talked to me, I followed them, they finally followed me back, suddenly are in my stream, suddenly can tweet at me, suddenly can DM me. I'm like, I see through you. And but it's also like, because people are such coattail riders and pick-me's, that my brain immediately jumps to the worst option. Which you can see. So, like, let's say I'd followed you for years and maybe you had a policy, and this is not true, it's just, again, hypotheticals. Let's say maybe you had a policy of, I don't follow back streamers unless I work with them. And you just out of the blue follow me, and I know that's your policy. So what is it you want? Because let's just face it, a lot of what we do is transactional.
Yeah.
And people need to realize that.
Entertainment is transactional, purely transactional.
Right. When it's something fairly obvious, I just kind of go, I can see you, right? But when it's someone like maybe I've wanted to collab with, and they've got the small streamer mindset, but I've never thought of them that way, and there's an opportunity. Perfect example. The buy MPOC shoot your shot tag.
So talk about that. Yeah, what is that?
So I'm not sure what the M is for, actually. The BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color acronym. So shoot your shot is basically, let's say, bad example, but it's all I got. Let's say I tweeted Matt Mercer, hey, would love to work with you.
Yeah.
Which,
we're friends with Matt, so yeah.
Right. But let's say me tweeting at him publicly, that doesn't mean I'm gonna get on Critical Role.
Yeah.
That would be weird. But let's just say I decide today's the day I'm gonna shoot my shot, or I'm gonna tweet at Brendan Lee Mulligan and go, hey, would love to work with Dimension 20. And it was a tag meant for specifically people of color in the RPG space to shoot their shot. What's weird / not funny but funny is that a lot of people who tag me are mutuals. DMs are right there, not hiding.
Yeah.
And the other part was, a lot of these people spend their days ragging on D&D and Critical Role, but they sure were tagging Critical Role in Dimension 20. Oh, but you can shoot your shot, but not with the person who does their best to give people opportunities. Or people that were tweeting at Motherlands going, I would love to do art, and I'm like, there were 2 open calls for artists.
Yeah.
Where were you?
If we have another one, we'll put it out. We'll announce that time.
Right, but it's like, or I look, they don't even follow Motherlands. They don't follow me. Or I want to sit on a design meeting, but you don't follow us. You don't know what's happening. And with stuff like that, I was snarky, and I admit I snarkily tweeted about it. But I was like, all the mutuals that tagged me, my DMs are right there, but then they didn't know what they wanted to do. So there's a lot of people that want to shoot their shot, or they just have an idea. They want to work with somebody. And our friend that bronze girl, Jasmine Bueller, was talking about this. And Eugenio, DM Jazzy Hands, and I talk about this, where there's a lot of shoot your shot / I want to collaborate means I see you building something, I want to hitch my wagon to it, and when you've done all the work, I just want to come along for the ride.
We had we had a fair amount of that in the YouTube circuit early on. So with our groups, Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal and 5 Second Films, Cyanide Habits especially, 5 Second Films, we would get folks who are like, I want to be in one of your sketches. I want to be in a sketch. Okay. Well, the rule to get on the sketch is you have to come to our table read, bring jokes with you. And you have to pitch jokes at the table just like every other member of the group does. It's for us to decide what we're shooting for the week. But when told you have to bring something to the table, then they just shut off. Because they're just looking for I want the placement, I want the reach, I want the distribution. Wait, I got to do additional work? Oh, no. And then they shut off. And that's why, what we're attracted to, I think what we're trying to hit on is like, for those that are in it for an actual purpose, are doing their thing, are genuine individuals, come to us with a genuine perspective. They're not coming just chasing, the coattail or wanting to hitch the wagon on. Then we're interested in actually establishing something with you, and maybe work will come to fruition in the same way that we knew each other before we worked on a project together.
Right.
Because we learn, okay, this is what you stand for, this is what I stand for. Great, we stand for a very similar thing. Let's make a show. Into the Motherlands takes off.
Right.
And that's how it happens. That's how that should happen in the industry.
Right, and there are a lot of people that also, and this is kind of getting back to it, or they think, like being a Twitch partner. There's a lot of people who think, I'm going to be a Twitch partner and I can quit my day job. Absolutely do not quit your fucking day job.
Don't.
I've seen people do it when they get affiliate. There's going to be a panel on that at TwitchCon Amsterdam, so if you're going to be there, please go to it. There are people who, or they see a thing's popular, how many people assume, or like for a while, like Matt or someone would tweet at any one of us who was on Rivals, or someone who's no longer on Rivals, made a big deal about some of the Critical Role people following them on Twitter. And then came when are they going to be on Critical Role? And it's like, do you know we live in a whole other state? Do you know that and this may turn into a rant, and if you want me to stop, but it may turn, but it turns into it slots into the I want to show up, do no work, and get the kudos.
Yeah.
But the way I'm thinking of it is when people like take Black Dice Society or Motherlands, they always want to guest on the show. There'll be people who tweet at us all the time. B-Dave leaves the show's DMs open.
Yeah.
How can I be on Black Dice? How can I be on Black Dice? And it's like, do you understand how much work it is for a DM to slot you into an existing show for 1 3-hour session, maybe 2, depending on what things are going on? People, and again, I didn't even know this was being planned, but like people kept tweeting at us to have Critical Bard on.
Yeah.
He was on last night, but it's like, do you know that took a lot of work?
Well, it's because there's some people that will come or ask for that gig, and they're expecting to be the center. As you were saying, once again, like how people in chat try to center themselves. People will contact to be a part of something because they're hoping that they will be made the star for that 3-hour arc.
Right.
Rather than, no, you're going to be playing a side character that's maybe for a small mission for 20 minutes that we can have you be. You could be the innkeeper as we stop through the next town and we have a conversation with you. It was wonderful having you as a guest. It's like the guest star in a TV series. It cannot be the center moment. And so it's a balance to strike in this space, but I think you hit on a few good points there, which was affiliate partner does not change the career path. It's literally just another step in what will hopefully be a long career for you in broadcasting, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, art, whatever it is that you're contributing to the space. It is a step. On Twitch, in terms of those two things. When it comes to YouTube, same deal. Monetization, sure, you unlocked it. Continue to produce what you produce. But it really has to come down to what do you actually want to bring to the space, and how are you changing the space for the better in your perspective? And are you filling a need in the space? Because if you're not filling a need or a conversation that needs to be had, you could be potentially just chasing replication, art imitating art, and you're not giving anything of value to your audience that you're hoping to build.
Yep. And we talk about that often because, like even when it came to the Motherlands, I pitched several ideas.
Yep.
And it was, there's so much D&D on Twitch, you can't throw a rock without hitting it, so no.
And just so you know, what we're
a
referring to is I denied what Tanya pitched to me at the gate. She was like, I want to do this, do this, this. I was like, no, I'm not interested. But if you come up with your own world, with your own characters, with a mission behind it that stands for good, that has a great story behind it, and you came up with a world. Describe real quick the concept of Motherlands for those who may not have tuned into it, who are either listening in the podcast version or live right now. The core of Motherlands. What is Into the Motherlands?
So, Into the Motherlands is a Afrofuturist sci-fi RPG, which, you know, kind of our love letter to both Black Panther and Star Trek. And there's two cores of it. One is that there's no colonialism or racism, as most RPGs have that as a base for whatever reason. We know the reason, but that's a different show.
Mm-hmm.
And the conceit is Mansa Musa, who was a real emperor of Mali in the 14th century, sent an expedition to the U.S. And historically, the expedition just never got here. Our conceit is that they wound up on this planet named Vutoa 3,000 years ago, and in that time, since Mansa Musa's group landed there, it's now 3,000 to 4,000 years later, and they have integrated with the people of Vutoa and beyond. So humans are called Musalians because that's what they called themselves when they met other people. There are plant-human hybrids called Salansi. There are Hyanol. I mess it up every time. It's our game. But they are we purposely flipped the script on them because hyenas are savage creatures on Earth. We said no, they're the smart ones. They're the Vulcans, basically. You know, but the other part of it is that anyone can learn to do any job. It's not like D&D where I'm an orc, therefore I am automatically stronger than a human or an elf, or I'm an elf, so my elfy eyes can see 200 feet, where a human is blind in the dark. We are stripping that bioessentialism out of the core of the RPG.
There it is. And that's why I was like, yep, let's go. Let's run at that, because that is, once again, giving a new perspective. It's the what I refer to when people hear me speak. It's like the BuzzFeed model: nostalgia, humor, and value. Nostalgia does it relate to you, your past, or some type of experience of which you can align with. You're like, yep, absolutely, hit on those. Humor, does it make you laugh, make you cry, make you feel things? Yes, every single episode that you're producing. Value, is it something you've never seen before? Yes, I've never seen this show before. And so that's why we ran at it. I do want to open it for anybody in the chat if there's any other questions to get them in there. I have one more question for you, Tanya, before we open up to the crew here.
Okay.
Future, you know, looking, whatever the hell's the proper term for that I can't find at the top of my brain right now. But if you were to look into the future and what path and what you want to be doing, what do you want or hope to see come to our space, whether that's gaming, broadcasting, or a whole new creation? What do you hope to see happen? And it could be even societal. I mean, hell, society's burning every fucking day. What do you hope to see?
Yeah. In our space, what I'd love to see is more programs, you know, kind of like what Twitch is doing, but programs that can go, here is $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. You've got a year, go make something unique and amazing. Because it always comes back to people have ideas, they want to do great things, they just don't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I could have never made Motherlands myself.
No.
You know, I don't have that kind of money for the show or for the book that's coming out because we raised almost $400,000.
Which, hell yeah.
Yeah, that I still can't believe we did that, but we did. The money's in my account. It's really weird. And also just people realizing that there is a seat at the table for everyone, and that you don't have to be a crab in a barrel. Excuse me. That me getting an opportunity doesn't take something away from another Black femme creator. That we can coexist. And just societally, that we find politicians with a backbone that actually care about their constituents. Because, and this will be my mini political rant because it actually is political, it but I will never again get another fucking fundraising email from the Democrats after they fail to act when they have the majority.
You would,
Oh my god.
you would appreciate Snotsnet. He's a community member and a podcast host of a Baywatch podcast I was on recently. He does a whole thread of just all the Nancy Pelosi ones he gets. Of like, oh, this just happened. Make a donation and we can beat them again. It's just like, really? You want more money out of me right now?
You didn't beat them when you had the majority, so... Because I think it was 30 minutes before I got my first donate after Roe v. Wade was turned over.
Yeah.
So...
Mm-hmm. No, of course. They immediately start mailing of just like, oh, we need this, we need this. On a positive note of needing things, Kyle Kyle, I called you Kyle Vote. I'm so sorry. Kyle asks, I know. I'm like, why am I talking? Because we were just talking about voting. Fuck. What Motherlands merch are you most looking forward to making available?
Probably the minis once the Kickstarter backers have them. Monster Fight Club is doing them, and they actually are. They asked for 360 all-around images of our heads. So probably the minis and the actual book. I will be so happy, and I'm just gonna tell you now. I'm gonna get incredibly drunk and high the day we send the files off to the publisher. No one talked to me for like 48 hours after that file goes off to the publisher, and also when we sign the publishing contract.
Yeah, that
will be like the next best day.
Hell yeah. A lot of good stuff to look forward to with Into the Motherlands for sure. I mean, it's a huge year already with the Kickstarter, with the success of the past few seasons. It's just really exciting, everything coming. So if you haven't yet, chat, make sure you followed CypherofTyr. Also follow Into the Motherlands on Twitter. What's the actual handle? Is it just Into the Motherlands or at?
No, let me find it for you.
Motherlands RPG.
I believe so. Let me double check because I goofed making the Gmail. Motherlands RPG, yes.
Yeah, at Motherlands RPG on Twitter. Make sure you're following there for all the updates around everything that's going to be coming out. I guess any final thoughts? Can be political, can be thought invoking, it could be just what do we want to leave our audience with? We talked a lot of great stuff today about, handling social relationships as a broadcaster, the navigations you've had sitting at the table with companies that hopefully grow over time to be more inclusive and representative, and then obviously discussing the journey that you've had. So I guess any thoughts that you'd like to close on for the crew?
At the end of the day, the best thing I can say is learn to collaborate with others. Don't be the person that gets whisper networked because you're an asshole. Also pay people, pay them what they're worth if you have the money. If you don't have the money, share what they're doing. And realize that content creation, no matter what you're doing, it's a collaborative jog down the street. It's not a race where you need to run everyone over.
Damn straight. I love it. Well, thank you again for being on this today with me. Thank you for being my second guest. You're seriously the best. Hope everybody's had a great time listening to this, and we'll catch you at the next episode. Have a great day, even better tomorrow, everybody. I appreciate you. Take care.